Section: Introduction. In this section, we explore a fascinating approach to generating fractals by repeatedly applying a specific function and focusing on the points where small changes in the function's parameters lead to significant shifts in the outcomes. These critical points form a boundary in the parameter space, indicating where the behavior of the function changes dramatically. For example, on one side of this boundary, the function's iterations might stabilize or remain within certain limits, while on the other side, they could spiral out of control towards infinity. This concept is beautifully illustrated by the Julia set, which emerges from iterating a complex function and observing where the iterations diverge or converge based on the initial conditions. We draw a parallel between this fractal generation process and the training of neural networks. When training a neural network, we essentially iterate a function related to the network's parameters through gradient descent steps. Similar to fractal generation, we observe bifurcation boundaries in neural network training, where slight variations in hyperparameters can lead to vastly different training outcomes, either converging to a solution or diverging. Motivated by these similarities, we delve into visualizing the boundary between hyperparameters that result in successful and unsuccessful neural network training. Our findings reveal that this boundary exhibits fractal characteristics under various conditions, including different types of network training and activation functions. In our experiments, we train a neural network with one hidden layer, using inputs and parameters initialized from a standard normal distribution. The network's architecture and training dataset are designed to match certain theoretical considerations, with the choice of scaling factors for the network's parameters based on the mean field parameterization. We conduct our training over a range of learning rates for the input and output weights, iterating through full batch steepest gradient descent for a fixed number of steps. Our analysis of the training outcomes uses color coding to distinguish between converging and diverging runs, with the intensity of the color indicating the duration and severity of loss during training. We generate a series of high-resolution images to visualize these outcomes, gradually increasing the zoom level to reveal the fractal nature of the boundary between successful and unsuccessful training. Through this exploration, we not only gain insights into the fractal-like behavior of neural network training but also contribute to a deeper understanding of the dynamics at play in the learning process. Section Summary. In this section, we explore the concept of fractal generation and its connection to neural network training. Fractals are generated by iterating functions with varying hyperparameters, leading to bifurcation boundaries where dynamics change dramatically. By visualizing the bifurcation boundary between successful and unsuccessful neural network training, we discover that this boundary exhibits fractal properties across various experimental conditions, shedding light on the chaotic dependence of final loss values on hyperparameters. Section: Experimental Conditions. In this section, we delve into the investigation of the widespread nature of fractal behavior by conducting experiments under 6 different conditions. Firstly, we examine the baseline condition, which involves using the tanh nonlinearity function, applying full batch gradient descent, and performing a grid search over 2 learning rate hyperparameters, eta_0 and eta_1. Secondly, we explore the effects of using the ReLU nonlinearity function. Thirdly, we consider the identity nonlinearity, essentially turning our network into a deep linear network. Fourthly, we shift our focus to mini-batch gradient descent with a mini-batch size of 16. Fifthly, we narrow down our experiment to using just a single training data point. Lastly, we conduct a grid search over a different set of hyperparameters, specifically targeting the mean value used during parameter initialization and the learning rate for both parameters. It's important to note that any design choices not explicitly mentioned remain consistent with the baseline condition and as previously described. We also present representative images from all experimental conditions, organized by their fractal dimension and accompanied by links to animations for a more dynamic view. In our exploration, we contrast the behavior of popular fractals, which are typically defined by simple one-dimensional functions and exhibit a high degree of geometric repetition and symmetry, with the fractals resulting from neural network training. The latter involves iterating a complex function in a high-dimensional space, leading to fractals that appear more organic, with less repetition and symmetry. This observation opens up intriguing avenues for further investigation into how the characteristics of fractals are influenced by the properties of their generating functions. Additionally, we find the non-homogeneity of the bifurcation boundary to be a fascinating subject for further exploration. Our selection of hyperparameter regions for investigation was somewhat arbitrary, leading to potentially biased results. An interesting case to consider is when the learning rate for the input layer is significantly reduced, effectively training only the readout layer, which does not produce fractal dynamics. Surprisingly, even when training with mini-batches, which introduces stochasticity into the iterated function, we observed the formation of fractals. This suggests a resemblance to Lyapunov fractals, where the iterated function changes at each step, albeit in a more constrained manner. Our study extends the concept of fractals to the two-dimensional space defined by pairs of hyperparameters. Given the multitude of hyperparameters involved in neural network training, extending fractals to higher dimensions presents a unique challenge, one that does not apply to fractals arising from neural network hyperparameters, as they naturally occupy 3 or more dimensions. We also touch upon the complexity of navigating meta-loss landscapes, which are often chaotic and present a significant challenge in meta-learning. Our experiments suggest that the fractal nature of these landscapes, with their extreme sensitivity to small hyperparameter changes, offers a nuanced explanation for their chaotic behavior. This insight is particularly relevant for meta-learning, where the goal is to find hyperparameters that lie near the edge of instability to minimize meta-loss. Lastly, we share our personal enjoyment of this project, highlighting its appeal not only to us but also to our families. We hope that our readers find these experiments as fascinating and enjoyable as we did.